The day began like any other. It was November 24th, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve. People were, rushing to get home to their families. At Portland International Airport in Oregon, passengers boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. The plane was a Boeing 727, bound for Seattle, Washington. Among the passengers was a man who bought his ticket under the name Dan Cooper. He was quiet and unassuming. He wore a dark suit, a crisp white shirt, and a black tie. He looked like any other businessman on a routine flight. No one paid him much attention. He carried a black attaché case. The flight was short, only about 30 minutes. Everyone expected a smooth and uneventful journey. The man, later known to the world as D.B. Cooper, sat in the back of the plane. He was in seat 18C. Shortly after takeoff, he ordered a bourbon and soda. He appeared perfectly calm. He then handed a note to a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. She, like many flight attendants at the time, was used to businessmen giving her their phone numbers. She initially slipped the note into her pocket, unopened. The man leaned closer. He spoke softly. He said, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." His words were not shouted. They were delivered with a chilling calmness that made them all the more terrifying. The routine flight was about to become anything but. While the plane circled high above Puget Sound, D.B. Cooper remained remarkably composed. He was polite. He was considerate. He ordered another bourbon. He asked for a soda. He paid for his drink. He tried to give the flight attendant the change. This behavior was baffling. It was not what you would expect from a desperate hijacker. He was not aggressive. He was not agitated. His calm demeanor had a strange effect on the crew. They were scared, of course, but they also described him as being rather nice. He spoke intelligently. He knew about airplanes. He knew the local terrain. He pointed out Tacoma below. The flight attendants were the primary communicators with Cooper. Tena spent the most time with him. She later told the FBI he was not cruel. He was thoughtful. He made sure the crew got food. He was specific about his demands, but he never raised his voice. This level of control was unsettling. It suggested he was not an amateur. He had a plan. He had thought through every detail. His knowledge of the Boeing 727 was particularly impressive. He knew about a specific feature of the aircraft that would be key to his escape. The waiting was intense. For 2 hours, the plane burned fuel in a holding pattern. Cooper was patient. Once the Boeing 727 was on the tarmac in Seattle, the exchange began. An airline employee drove a vehicle out to the parked plane. He delivered a knapsack filled with $200,000 in cash. He also brought the 4 parachutes Cooper had demanded. Tena brought the items aboard. Cooper inspected the money. Cooper inspected the parachutes. He seemed satisfied. Passengers were allowed to leave. 2 flight attendants, including Florence Schaffner, were released. He kept the pilot. He kept the co-pilot. He kept a flight engineer. He kept Tena. With the passengers safe, Cooper revealed the next part of his plan. He instructed the pilot to take off again. Destination, Mexico City. He gave very specific flight instructions. Fly low, no higher than 10,000 feet. Keep the landing gear down. Set the wing flaps to 15 degrees. These were strange requests. Gear down would slow the plane significantly. Low altitude would keep the cabin unpressurized. The pilots knew this was dangerous, but they had no choice. The plane took off from Seattle around 7:40 p.m. It headed south into a dark, stormy night. Cooper told Tena to go into the cockpit and close the door. That was the last time anyone saw him. Sometime after 8 p.m., a warning light flashed in the cockpit. Somewhere between Seattle and Reno, in a raging storm, Cooper did the unthinkable. He leaped into the freezing, windswept darkness. He vanished into the vast, rugged wilderness below. The moment the plane landed in Reno without D.B. Cooper, one of the largest and longest manhunts in United States history began. The FBI was in charge. They codenamed it NORJAC, Northwest Hijacking. Their first challenge was figuring out where he might have landed. The flight path was over a vast and dense forest area. The weather that night was brutal. Strong winds, heavy rain. It was a dangerous jump even for an experienced skydiver. The search area was enormous. Hundreds of soldiers were called in to help. They scoured the woods on foot. Helicopters searched from the air, but they found nothing. No parachute, no money, no body. The FBI had very few clues to work with. They had the composite sketches drawn from the crew's descriptions. They had the tie he left behind. They had the name Dan Cooper, which they quickly realized was probably a fake. A reporter mistakenly called him D.B. Cooper, and that name stuck. Investigators interviewed hundreds of people. They chased down thousands of leads, but every lead went cold. The man seemed to have vanished into thin air. Over the years, many theories and suspects have emerged. Some believe he was a skilled paratrooper, maybe even a veteran of the Vietnam War. One was Richard McCoy Jr., a Vietnam veteran who staged a similar hijacking months later. But McCoy was eventually ruled out. The most significant breakthrough in the case came in 1980. A young boy named Brian Ingram was digging in the sand on the banks of the Columbia River. He found a decaying package. Inside were stacks of $20 bills. The serial numbers matched the ransom money given to D.B. Cooper. It was about $5,800. This discovery only deepened the mystery. Why was only a small portion of the money found? The discovery raised more questions than it answered. The hunt for Cooper continued, but he remained a ghost. The FBI officially closed the active investigation into the D.B. Cooper case in 2016. After 45 years, it was one of the longest and most exhaustive investigations. The question of whether Cooper survived the jump is central to the mystery. The FBI has long believed he likely did not. He jumped into a dense forest at night during a severe storm. Despite the high probability he perished, the legend of D.B. Cooper lives on. It's the perfect mystery. The case has inspired countless books, documentaries, a Hollywood movie. Amateur sleuths and internet forums still debate theories. The story of D.B. Cooper is more than a crime story. It is a modern legend. It reminds us that even in our high-tech world, some mysteries remain unsolved. Some ghosts are never found.